It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. My co-host, Nate Perkins, joins me again. Nate, the ducking duck delivered in Minnesota.
Stop,
It did it.
man.
It
Quacking
lived
me up,
to
Brian.
the expectations. I am quacking you up. This thing is unbelievable. Unbelievable, Nate. I don't care about the disc golf right now. We're starting the show off with the duck. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I don't know how these players on the 18th took their putt serious when the duck is just staring you down. And honestly, most putts are taken from that right side too. So you just have that duck just staring you down like, don't miss, dude. Do not miss. I'm here to see disc golf.
And we got to go, folks, this is DGN exclusive, inside the duck. And you know what? I'm disappointed to not see somebody living in here full time. I thought maybe this would be a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. I used to think the same about the Bean in Chicago. I used to think somebody lived in there. It's all fake. But you know what? Unbelievable. There was some chatter online about the image that bringing this giant rubber duck to a tournament uh,
Sure.
brings to the image of disc golf. I love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Yeah. I say bring it. I say bring it for sure. I mean, if it gets, even just a few people out there or just a few more eyes on it, a little news outlet came out there, as long as it is not affecting like the integrity of the competition, like as long as they're not trying to put the duck in a fairway and have players play around it or something super gimmicky like that, I say bring it.
I agree. It is not just something that disc golf gets to see. It's something that travels around. I think it's hilarious. And there is a line. I think this hasn't crossed the line. And yeah, it just adds to an event that I already really love for many, many reasons. And you know what? The players delivered in both divisions yet again. Two different storylines, both really interesting. There's a lot to talk about here as we head into the next stretch of the tour. Got a major next week, got the Des Moines tournament, and then we head overseas for Europe, and the march to the World Championship begins. But Nate, Silva did it again.
Back to
She
back.
won again in the States over Kristen Tatar. We have a techie spin putter at the top of the FPO division. This is just a delight to watch. What do you make of this weekend?
Yeah, it really is a delight to watch. And you comment on the style of her spin putt, and we also have another backhand only player that is able to compete at the very top level here. There's not that many of them, but it seems like when you find a player that plays the game like that, it just seems like the natural way to play, right? Like when Isaac and Missy are piecing apart a course all backhand, it just feels like that's how you should get it done. And Silva, I don't think she threw a single forehand the entire tournament and didn't have to. And I think that's incredible to do it with one throw style.
I've talked to James Conrad about this a lot. You have as well. You're good buddies
Yeah.
with him. He says that the secret benefit that you have being an all backhand player is you will almost never deal with chooser's paradox on the disc golf course, and therefore course management is easier in some regards. You're not sitting there saying, "Okay, well, I have this shot, I have this shot. All of these seem like they could work." And then you sometimes get carried away thinking, "Okay, well, what's the most optimal shot for the situation?" rather than, "What am I feeling the most confident in?" James is gonna step up and throw the backhand flip up or the flip up turnover every single time unless he absolutely has to, and Silva is the exact same way, and I feel like the game is beautiful when you have 2 players at the top that are not seeing the game the same way. And
Yeah.
yes, everybody's game is different, but sometimes they're really different, and it's really exciting. And right now, this battle back and forth week to week from Silva and Kristen is showing us exactly that. It feels like the shot that Silva throws that Kristen will probably never have to throw unless the hole absolutely calls for it is that really understable driver on the hard hyzer, rides up to flat, and then quickly flips over. We see Calvin Heimberg throw shots like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Kristen's sidearm is just too good. There's no reason. She'd rather force the sidearm than let that shot flip all the way over. But it's just so cool to watch a player come to a course like the Preserve and not throw forehands and just throw beautiful hyzer flip after hyzer flip. Yeah, I really love where her head's at. And I don't know if you noticed this, Nate. There was a swagger to Silva this
Oh,
week.
yeah.
You know,
There
even
was.
going back to match play when they were battling against each other there, Kristen had the upper hand, and Silva was just laughing. The rain is just dumping on them, and she's enjoying herself, not just inwardly. Clearly, she loves disc golf, but outwardly is just showing a little bit more character. And just as a fan of disc golf and a lover of disc golf, this is special. I love what we're seeing out of her right now.
Yeah, Brian, the first time I really saw Silva even show any kind of, I'll call it gamesmanship, is the putt on, I think it was 14 during this final round. Cold blooded putt from C2 toward the drop off behind the pin. This is it right here. If you're watching on Jomez, just dials it up perfectly, hit just left of the pole, and then she's walking back to her lie, just her casual pace. When she gets back to her lie, she looks over at Kristen like, all right, your turn. Like, are you gonna make it? You kind of have to. You could feel that from her body language, and it's something I haven't seen from her before. And I love to see that. I love to see a little bit of what you call swagger, like showing up in there, because I think you need a little bit of that if you're going to step through that next barrier, that major barrier. I think you need to have a little bit of that to kind of instill a little bit of, instability in your other competitors. Like, oh wow, Silva it could big putt me at any moment. The putting is just lethal and so much fun to watch. I think she's top 10 in the entire game right now. I know that the stats aren't saying that, mid 80%. But the situational putting, there's just not that many people as good as Silva in both divisions.
Well, and what's interesting to me is we look at this tournament, she led the division in Circle 1X putting, and she was 87%, 34 of
87.
39. That led the
Yep.
entire division. She was only 2 for 13, at least from what the stats say. Sometimes they're not always accurate, but she was 2 of 13 from Circle 2. That doesn't seem right.
For the entire tournament.
That's what it's showing right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're still in that period where our stats are, taken by volunteers, and often, players are having to write in and get their stats updated. So, a lot of times they are valid, but I feel like I saw more than two C2 putts from Silva. I mean, we just showed one right there. She
I
had
think the
one
big
on
dagger,
7.
not the big dagger, but the big, component here is okay, so what? You're not making that many circle 2 putts. She led the division in circle 1 in regulation. So, she gave herself 52% chance of putting for birdie from inside circle 1, and she made 34 of 39. She missed 5 putts over the course of 3 rounds in terrible weather at that. First round was just disgusting. The course was an absolute
Awful.
slop fest. The parking lot was a slop fest. So, yeah, sometimes the circle 2 putting doesn't look good, but if you're knocking down the birdie putts that you're supposed to make from the edge, then good. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's doing your job. Um, but Nate, we have a major coming up next week, and there's more I want to talk about here at this tournament, but it's a very heavily wooded course. Before we talk about the rest of the division, how are we feeling about Silva Sarn and going to Silver Creek and Roland Ridge, 2 courses that we know all too well? I'm from the
Yeah.
Midwest. I played there multiple times. Love this place. What do
Yep.
you think?
Well, I mean, first off, those are two amazing venues for the game, right? You go back to the year 2016, Silver Cup was the second ever
Oh,
Disc Golf Pro
yes.
Tour event, the second ever Disc Golf Pro Tour event. And it was actually the first Disc Golf Pro Tour event where I played well. And I have a lot of history with Roland Ridge because first round at Roland Ridge, I'm on the lead card with Ricky Wysocki. I have no idea what I'm doing there. No idea what I'm doing there. And I'm playing this gauntlet of a wooded course where honestly, Roland Ridge is a thing of beauty, but you can throw a perfect shot off the tee and you have to scramble for your second. It's that type of property. And to me, that is the only reason why I'm actually selling a little bit of stock in Silva Sardanen for this major coming up. I'm
Really?
selling a little bit of Silva stock, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because
Mm.
I just commented on how enjoyable it is to watch her piece apart a course with just the backhand, right? But the one chink in the armor that I feel like a player like that has, a player like Missy, Isaac Robinson, James Conrad, Silva, is the scrambling, right? I know they can get it done. There's no denying it. They're all, Missy, James, Isaac, they're all multi-time major winners. But at the same time, the scrambling, if you land right behind a tree and you can't go to the other arm, you
That's
are
true.
taking away so many angles. And to me, that's the one spot where I feel like Silva is still lacking, is like that scrambling, even from, just off the fairway, not crazy deep, but just off the fairway or behind a fairway tree, which we're going to see a lot of at Roland Ridge. Kristen, Holland, they're going to have a big advantage in still being able to shape a shot with power because they have all these angles opened up with with their forehand. So, selling a little bit of Silva stock. I know it sounds crazy, but that's my angle there, Brian. What do you think?
Well, I don't know how to feel because they're only playing 2 rounds there. So
Yep.
then
They start off there Thursday, Friday. They're going
as an
Roland Ridge.
analyst and someone who looks at these tournaments each and every weekend and then tries to speculate the best he can with what he has, you are right. Roland Ridge is one of those courses where it is a choose your own adventure. Actually, no, no. What am I talking about? It is you accept the adventure given to you,
Accept the
as
adventure.
frustrating as it may be. No matter
Yep.
how good you might be, you're gonna have to scramble. There's a lot of trees in the fairway. So, my thing is Silver Creek, she can shred. It's more open, it's beautiful, it's out by the lake, there's a beach just off the fairway of 2. The lighthouse hole is there, it's an iconic disc golf hole in the Midwest, but Roland Ridge, you find yourself on the wrong side of the fairway, you might be right, that forehand is really gonna need to come in clutch, and who has the best forehand, in my opinion, in FPO? Kristen Lott, hands down. It's the most versatile. It's got the best mix of power, finesse, shot shaping, control, and that's going to save her a lot of strokes out there. But let's dive into that a little bit more after we finish up the rest of the field here in FPO at
Yeah.
this tournament in Minnesota. Because Nate, it wasn't smooth sailing for Kristen for more than one reason. She
Yeah.
posted this on Instagram. On Monday, I slipped on the stairs and hit my toe so hard it turned purple. It doesn't look broken, but it looks, maybe fractured, maybe just really badly stubbed. Pinky toe on the back foot.
Brutal.
So it's been a real challenge to be on my feet. Next, I could feel sickness coming in Ale, feeling very weak all weekend. Now it has turned to so much worse. Doesn't help with having the weather we had here so far. She played all of match play. Rain dumped on them the entire time. No lightning delays. On top of that, I threw my favorite disc in the pond. Why did I do that? Lot of weird breaks I've had on the course with everything that's been going on in the background. I feel like this would make a good comedy script. It's just one of those weeks out there on the tour, and we've all experienced them. I broke my big toe the day before being on live coverage at
Oh,
Waco
I
one year.
remember that. I
I shot
remember
6
that.
down that round. I threw 17 of 18 standstill flicks off the tee, but it
Wow.
sucked, and I don't have the expectations that Kristen does.
Yeah.
So she fought through it really well. Second place finish, 2 off the lead, very easily could have won.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
I mean, she birdied, what, 5 of the last 6? I mean, Silva had to play well, like, down the stretch. Well, I thought it was the most impressive impressive part of it. Okay, she birdied 5 of the last 6. Yeah, she did. She didn't get 18, but she made Silva birdie 14, 15, and 16. Like,
Yep.
Silva had to play good golf. So, I mean, Kristen, she still hasn't finished worse than 2nd, right?
Yep.
That's unreal. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, and yeah, there's no way I'm selling Kristen's stock, going into next week. There's no chance. I think especially, her playing through, the sickness today. I mean, you could tell her body language, she didn't have it all, and she still shot 8 down. She still averaged a
1,006.
1,000, yeah, 1,006 today, 1,007 for the tournament. And, that kinda brings me to another topic with this division, right? Like, you go down to Holland Hanley, who I've just been raving about all year on this podcast, and Holland, she didn't have that bad of a event, right? She never shot over par. She shot 1 down in the opening round in the rain, in the wind, which was her worst round. And then she finishes it with a 7 under, 999 rated. She averaged 2 better than her rating as a player. She's rated 991, top 5 FPO rating all time. She averages 993, and yet she still loses the tournament by 8 strokes. So
Well,
it's
Nate
just the level of play is just rising, Brian.
it's just not gonna cut it, and I know Holland's gonna tell you, C1X putting, she was 21 of 34. She was 62%.
Wow. 21 of 34. That's got to be her best or her worst all year, hands down.
She was 3 of 20 from circle 2. Any tournament that she wins, she's knocking down those shallow C2 steppers. She's hitting all the birdie putts that she needs to hit inside circle 1. I watched her this weekend, pissed.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the feeling from circle 1, furious with herself. This could go one of 2 ways for Holland Hanley. She is so driven and ambitious, that this could be the kick of the pants she needed to get ready and locked in for Wisconsin. But man, when you get to Wisconsin, and we'll dive into this in just a second, you're gonna have to really let go. You cannot hold so tightly to
Yeah.
to control and feeling like you can, ma you know, manipulate your surroundings. When you get to these courses, you just have to watch the show. And Nate, speaking of the show that we're gonna get to watch play out in Wisconsin, who else are we buying stock in the FPO division going into the next major?
Yeah. I'm buying a little bit of stock in Val Monduhondo and Haley King. Haley King is from Wisconsin. She's very comfortable at both of these courses. She's played a lot of Silver Cups, and she's she looked good this week. Honestly, the golf that I saw from her, she was shaping shots, and I'm also still big on Missy Gannon. I know that
Of
she,
course.
had her worst round in many years, but I think we also have to mention she lost her dog, one of her best friends of 13 years, her puppy Pippi, one of the better tour dogs out there, and I didn't find that out until after the round, but now it makes sense for where Missy was at. It just
Oh,
didn't seem like there was like a pure connection there. And it's
so
like
sad.
this is like intense amount of grief that she's going through with the loss of her dog. So rest in peace, Pippi. We love you. We'll be thinking about you. And so sorry for your loss, Missy. But I'm still buying stock on Missy for sure. I think Own is in the mix, absolutely. I know she hasn't been herself lately. We haven't seen that like lights out putting really all year. We haven't seen that like cold lights out Own. And then how could we not buy some stock in Cadence, Brian?
The chainsaw, brother. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
How could we
she gave it to us
not?
again. And what I loved is that she held on the entire weekend. She didn't just shoot a hot round and fall off. She's a teenager with poise. And I love listening to her talk to Grant Zellner after the round. She's so
Yeah.
calm. You can tell she loves disc golf. I talked to her dad after the Kansas City tournament that she played so well at, and he said she's all in. She loves this. She's ready to commit herself to disc golf, and she's thriving being out here. That is a special X factor that you're not gonna teach. This is somebody who knows what they want right now, and Nate, the game in general is just singing. Just talk about it.
Yeah, I think that her and Missy, they shot a 6 down opening round. To me, that was one of the better rounds of the weekend, right? It was pouring rain, it's windy. You've got this 18-year-old, barely making any mistakes out there, and the moment never got too big for her all week. I can't you can't really overstate how impressive it is
Look at this.
for her to get podium at Preserve in front of Holland Hanley, in front of Missy Gannon, in front of Own. It's just so impressive to do it at a course like this where anybody is really scoring out there. Ton of par threes, inside the 325 mark. And she gets third place and nearly averages 1,000 for the event. It's just incredible. And I'm hearing the same thing in her interviews. I'm hearing the confidence continue to deepen, right? And that's going to be the thing that takes her from this, what she got second at Music City or Kansas City,
Kansas
third
City.
here. That confidence is the only thing I think she's missing. Maybe a little bit more service on the forehand, but the confidence is going to be the biggest thing that allows her to step through the door on Sundays.
So we saw it in Kansas City. The forehand just got her sometimes.
Yeah.
She's really not confident in it. And I don't think that's a terrible thing. I no longer believe that it's a prerequisite to being a champion. But I think, and this is me being picky, she just had a fantastic performance. The, the comfort with the overshaping of the disc, kind of like what we see with Silva. I forget. I think it was like 16, the par three at Music City. That was everyone was throwing the forehand on, but somehow Silva was able to crank one up from Heiser and get one over and still get the birdie. I want to see more of that from Cadence. Uh, she's still good at it, but I need to keep seeing that technicality get better and better for her to do well everywhere. There's going to be certain courses she shows up to and shines on. She showed it to us this weekend. She showed it to us in Kansas City. I am buying a lot of stock going into the
Cool.
major.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, I don't know if she's going to have the best weekend of her life, but just like what we saw with Silva, you just need to keep putting yourself there. You need to get those little glimpses, those little moments where you're on camera and you get to put a show on. She had to shoot super hot and have the cameras come up behind her. That's a really unique experience when you're not on the lead card, you're not on the spotlight, and it finds you. You kind of have to deal with this self awareness of, oh, wow, I am doing pretty well, and still keep golfing. And she did
Yeah.
that.
She
So,
she said she welcomed the cameras as well, which is a
yes.
huge step for she's like, "Hey, I want people at home to be able to watch me if I'm doing this."
Yeah. So that I'm buying big stock there. Val Monduhano, I am gonna buy stock in. If those C2 steppers like this are gonna keep dropping, I'm down because
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
not gonna get perfect looks out there at Roland Ridge. You're not gonna get perfect looks out there at Silver Creek. And if she putts like this, great. The best part about the way Val plays disc golf is she throws slow. She might have the slowest miles per hour release speed on the backhand of maybe anybody in the top 20. And because of that, you're not gonna get the psycho kicks off the trees. You're not gonna have to deal with a lot of crazy, unpredictable lies. And if you're throwing like this, man, you're gonna fillet these fairways.
yeah, the 12 down was just insane. 1037 rated unofficially, one of the top 20 rounds all time by FPO on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And she cut her teeth down in San Antonio, Central Texas, and a lot of the golf out there. I'm thinking like Live Oak, Hillside. Like it reminds me of a course like Rolling Ridge or Silver Creek, where it's just super technical. You got to key in on tiny, tiny little gaps. You have to key in on the ground play, and she's a champion on the tour. I have no doubts in her ability to win a major, and honestly, this is a better chance than any for a player like Val, for a player like Rebecca Cox, Cadence. Like, this is the time. Like, worlds, I'm selling stock on these players, right? I think that you have to shape shots a little bit outside of their comfort range and a little bit more in the comfort range of Kristen, Missy, Holland, and Silva. But this is the moment that they need to step up and take advantage of the venues that they're being presented with.
Val's had a few top tens already. 7th place, Kansas City. 6th place, Northwest Disc Golf Championship. She's revving up right now. Last major, obviously at a golf course, a little bit longer distance required. She got 22nd, still cashed very handedly. I think we do buy some stock in Valerie Mondojano. I think that's a really solid note to end on, and it's got to feel good. You know, you shoot that round, you jump all the way up the leaderboard, and you get to drive across the country feeling fantastic. And Nate, you know exactly what that feels like, my friend.
Yeah, every now and then. Most of the time I was driving, like, hoping to figure out my putt and, what I was going to eat for dinner. But
Shut up. Hang on. You know the feeling of whether it's a win at a C
yeah,
tier that you played well at, or you finished a tournament on the Disc Golf Pro Tour shooting a good round.
yeah.
I know you're hooting and hollering in the van driving to the
No,
next
it's
stop.
true. Dude, it's true, and
Come on.
I tell you, honestly, good play is a little bit more motivating than bad play for me personally. I think everyone's different, but when I played well and was close to a win, it would fuel me even more. I'm like, I got to get back out there. I got to just tweak this and that, and then I can actually win. When I played really poorly, it was almost too much to face, right? I'm like, wow, I've got to go back to the drawing board. Like this is a lot right now, and like my ego is totally shattered, my pride, and it's hard to maintain that fire. And that's a part of what's so impressive just about this whole sport. Right, you get knocked down and you're finishing 20th, 30th, missing cash and stuff over and over again. It's so impressive to see these players continue to just sign up for the next event, hit the road, and give it another shot.
Well, Nate, let's finally talk about it. Major preview. We just talked a little bit about Silver Creek, Rolling Ridge.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be there. Kristen, Holland, Missy, Owen, Silva, Evelina, Kat Merch, Paige, Haley, Hannah,
Yep.
Ella. What do we make of this? And again, let's dive a little bit deeper one last time. And I think the one to key in on is Rolling Ridge. Paint the picture for what we're going to experience out there.
Yeah, I don't think they're playing black to black, which is the tip tee pads to the longest pins. They're gonna have a modified version. I was just checking out the course map. They're gonna have some black pins to black tees to black pins, excuse me, and then they're gonna have some red pins. They're pulling a couple of them in, but it's gonna be on the Disc Golf Network, and you're gonna have to be paying close attention to know where these players are in the fairway because it takes you on a journey through a dense, deciduous forest. Like, we're talking next to a little swamp, like, the rough is extremely gnarly, the lines are super tight. I'll call it a fair course, but it's barely crossing into that line. There are definitely moments where it just doesn't feel fair. Like, you will pimp a drive and have nothing. Like, you need a little bit of luck on even a good drive on some of those longer par fours, some of the par fives to have a shot on the next one. So it's that type of course. I think it's more technical than the course that we played for the major earlier this year. Um, Pardon me, the course we played at the major last year at US Women's,
Sprinkle Valley.
Sprinkle Valley, Brian, thank you. It's more technical than that. It's going to be pushing the limits of technicality, a little bit more technical than Bad Rock at its techie moments. We're talking like 2 to 3 foot gaps, like several of them throughout the round.
I will say, I do feel a similar way to you. It feels fair, but you also go into it knowing that you're going to take some kicks after throwing a shot that you feel phenomenal about, and you're going to have to scramble. I will say the underbrush there is not that bad. It's a private course that gets a lot of play. It's been around for quite some time. It's very established. So that is the part that feels very fun to me. There's a lot of opportunities to get aggressive. And if you do have that really solid forehand roller, great panning forehand, the course is kind of a playground. But when you're playing well there, it feels unbelievable. And you got to give it to the people who run that property. I mean, there's so many beautiful terraced greens. There's that gorgeous pyramid green that they have out there. This is like private disc golf at its finest. It is
Yep.
so beautiful. I think it encapsulates Wisconsin disc golf to a T. A lot of the players up there are fantastic woods golfers, unless you just play Dretska all day. Then you're an average, wooded player, but a really good wind player. But rest of Wisconsin, man, a lot of really solid players out there. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna see people get really upset, and I'm not saying
Well
I'm excited for it, but I'm telling people to get ready.
well, I'll tell you, I think we should go ahead and talk about what's happening round 1 at the major. What's happening for US Women's? I almost spilled the beans last week about the announcement, but I held on to it. Held on to it. So Brian, go ahead. What are we gonna announce to the world? What's going down?
Oh man. Well, this is just this is just awesome. And
Incredible.
I say this as somebody who watches a lot of Caitlin Clark highlights in the WNBA. There's a lot of really exciting things happening right now in women's sports. And on the disc golf side, we have a new deal with an enormous network. The All Women's Sports Network is going to be broadcasting live DGN feeds on their channel first round for a very large number of events. Let me look here. We were just on Pluto TV that has All Women's Sports Network at the Preserve, but I believe it was like 900 million households have access to this channel, and they're going to be getting a mirrored stream of DGN. US Women's is actually getting
Insane.
entire tournament broadcasted live. And then the first round of the Discmania Challenge, PCS Open, Crokel, World Championships, Turku, Ledgestone, Idlewild, D-Glow, GMC, MVP, Throw Pink, and the Disc
Wow.
Golf Pro Tour Championship, all on the All Women's Sports Network. This is like the
Unreal.
biggest, most accessible deal that we've ever had in disc golf. I'm so excited about it. This is, I believe, a newer network that started, but like I said, I was told like 800 to 900 million homes can just pop the channel on and watch disc golf and
Dude.
watch the best women in the world play. And to me, that type of representation is fantastic. And you know, when I was a kid, I heard about a disc golf course near my house. My dad told me about it because his buddy told him. We went there. I fell in love, and the rest of my life changed forever. And
Yeah,
hopefully,
man.
the same thing happens here. Little girl watches it on TV.
Yeah.
Her parent says, "Oh, we got one of those with those baskets down the road. Let's go give it a shot." And you know what? Who knows? I'm so excited, and that's just the basic details of the deal. I believe there's going to be more details coming out about it, but yeah, big deal. Entire
Huge.
major broadcasted there. I have that channel. I just watched women's volleyball on it the other day. It's fantastic.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's any opportunity we can get to show the world our game. I have no doubts that our sport delivers some of the best moments in sports. And I know that we have some of the most timeless champions in our game currently playing. We just deliver and we just need to show it to the world. I'm always telling my fiance like people are talking about pickleball. I get so frustrated. I'm like, it's so simple and confined. And I'm like, disc golf is so limitless and creative. Why did pickleball take off? And we just need that accelerator. We need that sonic launch pad. And it was actually our producer Tosi who went and got this deal done. So shout out Tosi for making it happen. And disc golf just has those people in it where they don't just they're not just content with their job, whatever role they have. They're like, we need to tell everybody about this. And I can't wait to see how it just, affects how it grows, how many people notice, and we just needed to enter them into the mainstream for a moment and it's going to take off.
Well, and it's also big to know that FPO viewership on the Disc Golf Network has been growing year after year at a pretty rapid pace. And right now,
Okay.
viewership, I believe, is pretty close to an all-time high. and it just
Sweet.
keeps going. Even some of the events, the more quiet events on the tour, are getting fantastic viewership on the FPO side. So this is just a natural progression for this division, and to me, I think it's gonna eventually rise everybody up together. And yeah, we're in a great spot, and I'm really, really excited for it. But Nate, a lot more to talk about here. MPO side, what the heck? Are you kidding me?
Unreal. Unreal.
Gannon Buhr 1088 rated event. That is Elite Series record. Beats Ricky Wysocki at the 2014 Texas State Championships by 3 rating points, and comes to a course where you have to shred to shoot 1088 rated on the weekend. We got a guy that puts a lot of pressure on himself to win a world title, hasn't done it yet, but oh my gosh, is he even in greater form than last season?
I mean, this was one of his greatest performances ever, which is saying a lot. It's saying a lot, and it comes straight from him as well. He has laid down some of the best rounds that we've ever seen on the Disc Golf Network, and I think that that exceeded it today and yesterday. But the thing is that when you watch him play, it's almost breaking the game apart because of how easy he's making it look. You know, it feels different than watching, Paul Macbeth like blank out the course. Like there was just more to be done there from Paul visually. With Gannon, he's just barely moving his body, and he had a stretch where his longest putt was like 12 feet. It was like a 10-hole stretch. He had one par in there, and then 11 of those birdies, he didn't even putt. It's unfathomable how easy he made this course look. And I think that, this will eventually bring us into a broader discussion about the design philosophy here. But I don't think you can include the way that Gannon played this course in the discussion of whether or not this course is too easy, because to me that just takes away from the level of play that Gannon displayed here, right? Like
100%.
it doesn't get any better than that. Like 16 down and then a 15 down. Like if you understand golf at all, it's just hard to wrap your head around doing that back to back. And round one, the 11 under par, his lowest to par and his lowest rating round for the event, it was 1081, right? He comes off the course
Poor
early.
guy.
He comes off the course early and he says, "Hey, based on how the weather is shaping up now, like I'm not just saying this to make my round seem better, but we got the worst conditions." Right? Like he wasn't on the feature card or the second feature card. He played pretty early and it was windier. Hands down was windier. It was still wet from all the rain the night before, and they got the most rainfall during the round. So he was even at a slight advantage to shoot the 11 under day one. It's hard to wrap my head around, Brian.
We are all totally okay with a player shooting a 10 down on a disc golf course on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It is easier to birdie in our sport for the most part than it is in traditional golf. Putting is a lot easier. The players can do anything with the disc. It's hard to create a course that consistently challenges the top players and makes par that much more valuable. Gannon is the only guy that didn't average at that. Corey Ellis averaged about a 10 under per round. That's a pretty average score in the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I feel like. And to me, that says the course is not as easy as people make it look. Gannon just did what was expected of him. And I was listening to some of the commentary at for the NBA finals that have been going on with the Pacers and the
Yeah.
Thunder. And one of the 3 commentators said elite players are elite because when people are expecting them to be great, they are great. They win in situations where they're expected to win. It's a very difficult thing to do, is to continue to shrug off all the other people that are expecting you to be a certain way and say, okay, well, you're the best player. Of course, you should just like walk all over everybody and win. It's not that easy. And we talked about it last week. A sport like disc golf is so random. So many strange things happen when you throw a disc. For Gannon to win by 11 shots on a course where he almost shot 1,100 rated and had a bogey. And this is a course where there's no room for error when it comes to shooting 1,100. This to me says he's not overthinking these things. Yes, a lot of these holes are easy. Most of the course scored under par. Like almost all the holes averaged under par except for just a handful. That's when you shine as a player, when you consistently show up and say, "I'm gonna birdie that hole 90% of the time, and 9 times out of 10, you get the birdie." Uh, Leading to the World Championships and the major in Estonia for the MPO division, they don't have a major next week. How are you feeling about Gannon Buhr? Is he gonna put too much pressure on himself to win a Worlds, or is he gonna get it done?
Well, that's the only thing that could potentially cause him to falter is the pressure he's gonna put about the weight of a world title, right? It's the only thing he needs to win. But also the thing is that he's not going to be playing a course like the Preserve for the World Championship, right? The Beast
No.
and the Monster are both present a completely unique challenge and a challenge on a scale much larger than the Preserve. And do I think that the Preserve is too easy? I feel like there needs to be a little bit more tension. I feel like there were a lot of moments throughout the round where there's just not tension of a mistake, right? There's not like, oh, will Gannon miss this shot big enough to go OB, right? Where you go to the Beast or you go to the Monster, there is so much tension there. Like if you miss the line on 8 at the Monster, you could kick left off a birch and you could double bogey instantly, right? Like you could kick left, OB, can't get back to the fairway, can't get up and down. And it's that tension that is able to, prevent a player from just blanking it out and shooting those 15, 16 under par rounds. And Gannon is going to be my clear favorite heading into until he has some injury or some psychological event. I think that for the perks picks, he's going to be my number one for the
Yeah.
remainder of the year. I just when he is putting like this, he's leading in the Circle One category all year, is he not, Brian? And the only thing that was keeping him was what, like an 85 or 86% C1X, and then high 20s Circle Two compared to like 35%. 36% for the leader. So when he's putting like the way he did this weekend, like he could win worlds by a handful of strokes
32 of 34 C1X, 8 of 13 from C2.
for the tournament. 8 of
Oh,
13 for the tournament.
that's
Ooh.
gross.
Oof, I mean, how can we not put him up there? Like AB gets third place, tied for third place. AB averages 1057 for the tournament. Like that wins a lot on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. 1060 typically wins. He loses by 14 strokes. He loses by 14 strokes. And one of the bigger stats that I was looking at on this leaderboard, Brian, is not the difference between first and second, which was 11 strokes, and then first and third, 14 strokes. It was first in cash was 30 strokes. If
Yeah.
you got last cash, you shot 12 under par. You're 30 strokes behind the leader. That's just a number we just don't
10
ever see.
shots around.
He cooked the field this weekend, and he's our clear number one, right? He's our
So
Carlos Alcaraz.
so this gives us our answer. The course is not too hard. Or sorry, the course is not too easy, right?
I don't think it's necessarily too easy. I slightly disagree with Kale's design philosophy. I feel the OB should tighten up a bit. I feel like there should be more moments throughout the round where the viewer and the player are experiencing some tension before the tee shot, right? Like if you miss this shot, you're going OB and you're losing some distance, and bogey comes into play quick. I don't think that there's enough of that tension out there. The tension comes from having to be perfect, which is special in itself, right? You're always talking about bowling, Brian, and the tension on the ninth and 10th frame are just there because you have to maintain that perfection. So preserve provides that, but I slightly disagree in the philosophy. I think we need to tighten it up to make it just that entertainment value a little bit higher.
So I'm going to tell a quick story, and this is going to illustrate a point. There was a tournament. It was a bring your own partner doubles tournament in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, that me, my brother, all of our friends who played in that area would play every year. It was a Park District run tournament. They didn't really know too much about how to run a disc golf tournament. They ran it every year, and it was 36 holes at their two little 9-hole courses. And to win this doubles tournament, you had to shoot like 34 out of 36 holes birdie. You had to go like 34, 35 under par. That tournament was like the most nerve-wracking event I played all season long because you knew any mistake, it was like you're climbing a mountain with no rope. The moment you make a mistake, dead, out of the tournament, out of the running. That's awesome. The idea of playing a course that is easy, hard to win at because it's so easy, that's exciting in its own right. But
Yeah,
like
it
you
is.
said, when it comes to being a spectator sport, you have to mix that excitement, that thrill of competition with a course that gives the people who paid money to watch it a show. And there's a couple holes on this course that I think do that really, really well. Yes, I understand like what you're saying about disagreeing with the design philosophy.
Yeah.
I do agree that some changes can be made. I think they're open to making those changes. Hole 2 at this course, I think is kind of an underrated hole on this property. It's about 408 feet,
Oh, the
par
third.
3, but it's like what did I say?
You said hole 2, the little tight wooded one. I know what you're talking about
Yeah, yeah,
3.
yeah.
I know you
Listen,
love this
fine.
one.
Well, it's great because of a couple things. If you pay money to go watch this tournament, you're gonna sit behind 3 and you're gonna get to see, like, 4 different slots of disc get thrown. You're gonna
Yeah.
get to see fairway drivers that slow flex down the tree line and try to control the skip before it goes downhill. You're gonna see AB go Luna and just smash 400 feet, helicoptering down to the pin. You're gonna watch Silas Schultz go beautiful slow hyzer flip, 1,700 RPMs, landing right next to the pin. You get to see pro disc golf at its finest. And to me, if you can get 18 holes of disc golf, par 63, 65 of different holes that allow for that, the individuality of the player to sing, and for a spectator go to any tee pad or any shot and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't do that." I think we said it in a previous episode. I forget what the number was for the tour championship, but it's that hole at Nevin that's like 420 feet straight uphill, and the gap is like barely the width of the tee pad. Guys behind that tee pad were like, their brains were melting and falling out of their ears watching players throw tee shots up there. It still doesn't make sense when you go to
Yeah.
that tee pad, but that's what you pay money to watch. So you have to balance a course full of that with a course that still provides that thrill. Um, so I don't know what the right answer is, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think the preserve gets a lot right, and I think, there's some of it where I kinda feel like, hole 1, for example, I think it's like, it's fine, but a better version of hole 1 is, I believe it's hole 7, the par 4, where they have to get in bounds, they clear the water, um, they have to land it in bounds, they have to throw far if they wanna get in position to get up to the green. um I think that change is gonna continue to happen out there at the preserve, and hopefully, they make a course full of shots like that. So, I'm happy with it. Is it my favorite course on the tour? No, but is it one of my favorite to play as a player and be there in person? 100%. The fans always flock there. They know it's a fun place to be. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it's one of the better, player experiences out there, especially if you love to camp. I always tell people, they ask me like, "Hey, if I wanna go spectate and hang out at a chill tournament, Preserve is always one of the ones that comes up for me." And it just has that welcoming environment, and we're right there on the Mississippi. We're talking about the biggest river in the United States, second biggest river in the Western Hemisphere, and most of that river, Brian, it's not very inviting, right? The river is like it runs through a bunch of farmland, it's picking up all these chemicals, all these nutrients, but Clearwater, Minnesota is like a couple 100 miles from the headwaters of the Mississippi River. It comes from this spring-fed lake just a couple 100 miles northwest, and it doesn't really run through a bunch of farmland, doesn't really it runs through one city in St. Cloud. And so right there, adjacent to the preserve, it's really pure water. It's
Look
really
at this. So
inviting. It's
beautiful.
ideal for swimming. There's rope swings, great fishing. You're catching bass, pike, even a muskie if you're lucky. It's got agates that you can hunt for in the shallows. And every year it's like a different depth. Like, when Kale announced this property, I don't think there was a single disc golfer out there that wasn't A, excited, and B, like envious. Like, this is the dream, man. Like, you bought an old golf course with big water features adjacent to a major river. Like, how is this real? Right? It's an amazing place. And they had this atmosphere. They had little, I think they called it Hippie Hill, and all the vans, all the RVs posted up,
I was there.
camping. There's campfires, there's people playing music, everyone's watching the full moon rise. I think one year we got the projector on Hippie Hill, and we played Paul Stamets mushroom movie on the projector. Like, we got everyone like cuddled up, like watching watching the mushroom movie with the full moon rising. Like, it's heady, but it's so just it's memorable. Do you remember the year where you couldn't, like, even really be there because the mosquitoes were so bad? Like,
Oh, yeah.
people were watching this, like, fire poi dancing, and everyone is dancing, and I'm like, "Wow, I don't really see them dance too much." And then you start to realize, like, they're dancing because if they sit still, they're gonna get lit up by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just amazing I have amazing memories at the preserve. Even the ponds are good swimming. It's far enough north that the ponds, they turn over, right? Because they're frozen all winter. So the water is just pure, right? Like, you're down in Texas, you're not swimming in a little pond like that. Like, you're gonna pick up some weird stuff. Like, the swimming up there in Minnesota is pure. And, the preserve, that's a part of why I feel like the preserve is such a special place. Regardless if I slightly disagree with the design philosophy, it's still up there for me as far as just what disc golf is about, what a fan experience, player experience is about. And, this was the only preserve where I feel like it didn't come down to the wire, whether they were pushing 35 under par, or not. This was the only time there was a runaway winner in MPO. So it's always delivered, even if they're breaking the course down.
I remember very vividly when I found out this was happening, when Kale bought the property or leased it or whatever he did financially to
Yeah.
acquire the property. I just remember feeling this really hopeful feeling, like, "Okay, the next level is here. We are finally getting guys that are out here on the road with us, taking that next step, throwing their hat in the ring, and giving us more disc golf specific facilities that they're gonna pour their heart and soul into." And I still feel hopeful about that. And I ask you, Nate, I have my own opinions on this. What is the next step above that? What's the next step above a touring player like Cale Laviska stepping off the road for a bit to do something like the preserve? Obviously, it's not his course now. Gotta go, gotta throw. Charlie, he's the one that kinda runs the show now. But what's the next step above that?
Next step for me is just more money that allows the owner to build more disc golf specific features, right? Like, to develop each green, each tee pad into this memorable uh, part of the course, right? Like the layout of the preserve, it's great, design's solid, but there's also just a lot of very forgettable parts of the course, right? There's a lot of just fairways that are kind of mundane, a lot of greens that are just average. They've got the old golf bunker that's like grass is growing through it, right? If there was unlimited funds, the owner could go in and just change all that, revamp all that, landscape every aspect of the green. You think of a property like Eagles Crossing, the reason it's so talked about and so prestigious is because of all the money that went into building all these insane features. So yeah, that's all I really think it takes, right? Like you have a property like Maple Hill, they've been able to pour a bunch of money into it, and they've been able to just develop these greens over time, develop these tee pads, build it up into to this grandeur kind of uh, presentation, and that's the only thing we're missing.
Yeah, my thought is, what's the next Smugs? How many properties like Smugs are out there? How many places have acreage upon acreage upon acreage that don't even know the value that they could bring, by adding a disc golf course on their facility? And to me, in our area, in Charlotte, there's the Whitewater Center. They have like 1,300 acres. They have whitewater rafting, they have kayaking, they have rock climbing, they have mountain biking, woods upon woods upon woods. And it's like $150 for an annual pass for like every day you can be there. Imagine if a disc golf course goes there, it's like championship caliber. How many disc golfers from Charlotte alone would buy an annual pass just to go there and play disc golf every day? I know it would be a thing. And I say
Make
this
make the
not having.
pitch, dude. Hit them up.
Hey,
Go knock on their door, dog.
I I I was there this morning
At the Whitewater Center?
kayaking.
Oh, for your
It's my
anniversary?
it's my anniversary with Lindsay today.
Yeah, happy anniversary,
Luckily,
dude.
thank you. Luckily, she had other work to do as well, so I'm not just deserting her on her anniversary. We both agreed that it was okay. But I was there and I was just like, "Are you kidding me right now? $150 for an annual pass?" I could I could pull hundreds of disc golfers right now that would die for that to be an annual pass to a private course that's well maintained. So, I don't know. What is the next place that's gonna have that happen? And I know it's gonna be there. I know it's gonna happen. We're getting more and more numbers about economic impact, and it's just gonna take the right partnership, the right person on the inside somewhere to realize that with the right crew, with the right pitch, and with the right course, something big can happen. We're gonna see it over in Europe right now for the World Championships. We're gonna see it in Estonia. I guarantee you some big stuff's gonna keep happening in Estonia. So, yeah, that's the next step for me. Cannot wait. But, man, lot to talk about, Nate. I guess,
Who we gotta
what
shout
is it?
out? We gotta give some shout outs in the
Oh,
MPO, Like,
yes.
you might have
Scott.
lost by 14, but Carter Aarons, like, are you kidding me? You go 1070 final round to get a podium on the Pro Tour. I think he's 18 years old. Like, he's just graduated high school. Noah Meintsma, like, are you not Are you not tearing up watching our dog hit some C2 putts on DGN? Like, Noah is a classic case of someone who has been dedicated to the game and has not quite reaped the benefits yet, right? He's been following the tour around since the beginning, right? Like he might not have hit every pro tour, but he was touring before 2016 when the pro tour started as a young kid. He's continued to grind. He had a period where he missed cash at every disc golf pro tour event, for the year, right? And he has changed his habits. He's hitting the gym, he's not drinking. And all of a sudden, he's starting to win some tournaments, win some A tiers, won the Q series for 5K last year. And now he parred 18. Did you see he parred 18 today? It actually cost him a couple $1,000s to not hit the eagle there, but huge shout out to Noah Meintsma finishing in 6th place in front of his home crowd in Minnesota. How fun is it to watch Silas Schultz rip a disc? Are
Yep.
you kidding, dude? He threw some amazing lines. Do you see that second shot that he had on 14 through the tree? He like went a little left off the tee pad, didn't get it to turn over, had like a 8-foot gap in front of him. And Terry and Doss are like, if he just gets this in bounds and he cracks a fairway driver, like well past 400 feet through the gap. It was just incredible to watch him. It is always incredible to watch him rip a disc. Shout out to him. What'd you see, Brian? Who you got to shout out?
Oh, man. I mean, all the same guys that you did. Corey Ellis, thank you for giving us a show this weekend. He is wonderful to watch. This
Dude, this
I
put on 5.
oh, oh,
Are you
this is
kidding?
what is this 5 or 6
Yeah,
from, like,
I think it's
nothingness?
5.
No chains
No
back, throw on the
chains.
basket?
He couldn't even see the pin either. That was for single bogey from like 75.
Corey is just an exciting guy to watch when he's on because he's got that limitless range on the putt. He actually throws a lot more techie backhands than I think people give him credit. He has a lot of really flippy stuff in his bag too. He doesn't always reach for it, but when he wants to, he pulls some stuff off that feels like he's just kind of peacocking. Like he used to have that really flippy glow buzz in his bag that he threw on 17 at European Open. That's just disgusting. And I don't know. Love watching him play. And he's another one of those guys that, like, deals with burnout from time to time, and he really
Oh
feels it.
yeah.
He's such a good dude. I love playing disc golf with Corey too because we both kinda, love the same parts of the game, but also, like, we go down the list, Nate, and the same guys that you shouted out have all been through the same thing. Carter Aarons, I talked to his dad, Chuck, a little bit ago. Carter had that big pop out, a couple years ago.
BSF, I remember he got shot 15
Yep.
down out there. Yeah.
No, he's an athlete. He's an unbelievable athlete, and his dad said, I think it was like a year later at the Portland Open, he's like, he lost the putt, he lost the confidence, he's just not feeling good right now, he's starting to put too much pressure on himself, and it's like, he's a kid still. He thinks he needs to pull the moon down to planet Earth right now, and he just needs to be patient. Clearly, he's found that. Um, love to see him throw. He was out driving his card by like 100 feet at times. I mean, the
He
dude murders
smokes the
the disc.
disc. Smokes the
Smokes
disc,
the
dude.
disc.
Well,
But then
he
also, Nate, real quick, I you already said what you said about Noah. Silas called me a couple years ago just to kinda we were just talking disc golf because we talk shop from time to time, and he told me the same thing. He's like, "I lost the putt. I'm at an
yeah,
8 tier in Florida, and I lost the putt, and it
I
feels
remember.
I don't even know what
Oof.
to do." And I was like, "I
Yeah.
don't even really, I don't know what to do either." Like, it's a terrible thing when that happens, and it's enough sometimes for a player or sorry, it's enough to make a player wanna quit. He was, I believe, like, bottom 5 Circle 1 putters on tour either last year or the year before. He was, like,
Mhm.
59% from C1 at one point, and
Yep.
now here he is battling back, like, there's just something in the human condition that I resonate with because I'm just now getting the spark back to play even local tournaments. It just hurts, your body starts to hurt, the putt starts to go away, you start to question, "What the heck am I even doing out here?" And I'm just proud of all these guys that are still out here that found the fire, still on the road, and I don't know, this was a special part of this weekend. Noah, he texted me after I said good round to him, and he texted me back and said, "Oh, comeback player of the year, question mark?" And I'm like,
That's
"Hey,
sick.
give it to me. I wanna see it. You got my vote if you keep playing like this." But, yeah, I don't know. This was a great weekend to see some other guys pop off. Sullivan Tipton, great weekend. Ezra Aderhold, I'm buying lots and lots of Ezra Aderhold stock right now. He just continues to impress me with his consistency. What else, Nate? Who else you gotta talk about?
Yeah, honestly, I think Sullivan Tipton was super impressive this week. Continues to be just that guy that has every shot, it seems. And I picture him actually being a contender out there at the Beast and the Monster.
He always seems
He
to be.
dude, he's definitely on my list, man. Absolutely on my list. I want to talk about some, Jake Hebenheimer's 12 under par. It's for 26th place, but it's little moments like that that can spark your year. It can kick you into the right gear. And what did you have to do to cash out here? You had to shoot 12 under for 4 rounds. Players just outside the cash. Jeremy Colling, Gavin Babcock, bit of a surprising stretch for his year. Hasn't had the year I expected for him, Brian. He's had one solid finish, 12th place at MVP. Hasn't had the year. He was a player going into the season I was buying a lot of stock in. He pushed the 1030 rated mark. I really felt big on him and just hasn't found it. So he needs one of those rounds that like kicks him into gear. He needs to be on camera and get back into that flow. Because missing the cash here, really hurts. And yeah, you got players in the old guard. Greg Barsby just in the cash, Jeremy Colling just out. How long are names like that going to continue to sign up for these events? Like how long until Barsby hangs it up, until Colling, steps into a full-time media role? Like when do you call it, Brian? How do you get to that point?
Well, Nate, if I didn't have all the commentary underneath uh underneath the hood that I had, I don't know what I would have done because I hated playing the game competitively, after 2021. And my thought was, I think Discraft would have re-signed me and I probably would have just gone back out on tour and tried again with a bummed knee, a bummed back, bad shoulder. I would have just tried again. And I think there's a lot of people that are just like, this is the lifestyle that I've committed to. I'm going to keep trying. The thing is, guys like Barsby, guys like Jeremy, like all these guys from that generation, they know how to be resourceful. They know how to be entrepreneurial because you had to be back then. There was no choice. Like you hear stories of some of the clinic tours that Barsby would go on with Philo. Like those guys grinded so hard to make it work back then. And he earned that house that he has out there in Texas. Greg Barsby has earned everything that he's earned in disc golf through hard work. But you know what?
And I don't wanna get to give up, right? I'm not encouraging
But
them to give up. It's just it's so interesting to kind of speculate on when a player like that makes the call, right? Because I still think either of those players could pop off and win a big tournament. I think, they're both Barsby's a world champ, Jeremy's a US champ. They both still have it in there, right? And there's a lot of other players on the list, right? Ulibarri absolutely still has the potential to win the
oh, yeah.
tournament. It's so interesting. It's like you miss cash, 10 times in a row on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It eventually has to creep into your mind a little bit like, wow, what do my 40s look like? What do my 50s look like? Like what is my next move, right? I need to make a move. So I'm not encouraging either of those players to quit. I
No.
don't want to see them go anywhere. Obviously, they're icons of the game. I wonder what they're thinking when the level of play is rising and prime, they're declining. They're out of their prime, right? The time has passed. So interesting, Brian.
All I hope is that a lot of the Masters majors begin to get covered pretty
Yeah.
consistently on live, whether it's Jomez or Gatekeeper, GK. I know that the talent is gonna keep getting better and better. We have a lot of guys that are about to creep into their 40s, and yeah, I was stoked to see Nate Sexton out there. Germ is now Masters eligible. I think it's gonna be a really
He's
exciting division.
playing. Yeah, he's playing
Yeah,
Masters Worlds. Dude, Masters Worlds is
it's gonna be awesome.
we're broadcasting that on Disc Golf Network for the first time. And it is stacked. It's super compelling. Kayla Visca, Joe Revere, Josh Anthon, Paul Oman, who didn't have a good week. He shot, I think, 6 or 8 over par in the rain round. Philo's playing. Feldy, Michael Joe, Jeremy Colling. I mean, this is a compelling division, and I think that still the majority of disc golf fans are 30 to 50 years old, right? Even with the COVID boom, I still feel like the majority of disc golfers 30 to 50. So they want to see Masters golf, and to me, it's super compelling.
Well, Nate, Another episode come and gone. I got to say one last thing. I got a shout out. My younger brother, talking about people who have lost the fire and come back strong. My younger brother, Tom Earhart, just took down his first A tier in the open division today out there in Illinois, Rockford, Anna Page Park. Congratulations, Tommy boy. A great weekend of disc golf. He won by 6.
That's
Yeah,
nasty. That's nasty.
that's a guy, again, who, like, got out of college, thought, okay, maybe I'll do what Brian did, and maybe I'll go on tour, realized that he enjoyed, having a good job, making good money, and wanted to play regionally, and lost the fire initially, came back, and I couldn't be more proud as a brother, especially after hearing how burnt out he was. I remember back at my wedding, this is the 1 year anniversary of my wedding that you were at as well. We had a little party with everybody the night before, and Gavin Rathbun was there, and he put his arm around my brother and just said, "Hey man, calm down. It's all good. Like, you're a sick player. You're going to be good. Calm down." And, drunk Gavin, drunk Tom, having a great time and
Yeah.
reconnecting. That fire kind of came back, and yeah, proud brother right here. But Nate, I got nothing else to say. We got some big disc golf coming up next week in Wisconsin. Anything else for the people?
Yeah, man, I'm sad I'm not gonna be there up in Manitowoc. It's a wonderful place to be, right on the Great Lake, Michigan, and yeah, man, that lighthouse hole is just timeless.
Yep.
James Van Lannen, he played a big role in my life, honestly. He helped, he was my ex-partner's father, who I met at the Silver Cup, and he helped finance my van, my Sprinter
Wow.
van, and which I ended up building out myself into my home that I lived in for, 7 years full time. And, Jim Van Lannen is one of the most dedicated like tournament directors
Yep.
you'll ever meet, right? Like he spends his whole year preparing for this one event, right? He's the guy. It's going to the city, going to the visitors bureau, like getting everyone on board. Like, hey, the pros are coming back to Silver Creek, and it's those types of individuals that really keep the game going, right? So I'm really sad to not be up there at the Lighthouse in Roland Ridge, Silver Creek. But I am excited that potentially millions of people are going to see it on the All Women Sports Network. I think this is a much bigger deal than people realize. So I'm excited to witness it unfold. Again, shout out to our producer Tosi for locking down that deal. That's nasty, dude. And yeah, Brian, this is honestly part of the week I looked forward to the most is just talking about disc golf with you. It's fun, man.
Who is the winner of the major next week? That's our only perks pick that we're doing. Pick a winner.
Okay. Let's just do the podium, man. Let's do the podium. My winner is Kristen Latt, and then I'm gonna bump Silva out of this. Out of this, I'm going Kristen, Missy, Holland. Silva's fourth, few strokes outside of the podium.
Missy Gannon wins.
Ooh.
Silva gets Silva second. Kristen third.
So Kristen finishes outside the top two for the first time. Give me a quick hit on why Kristen doesn't rise to the occasion.
Missy and majors is just a thing right now. And Silva is blowing my mind. Kristen, obviously, still the best player in the world, hasn't blown my mind the same way that she has when she was consistently winning. She still has won a decent amount of tournaments, but when she wins, she plays with a certain tenacity. Didn't see it this last week. I saw it from Silva. That's why. Got to pick one. So there you go.
All right, man. Well, I got you in the perks picks this week, but we're going to have to tally it up next week's episode. Look forward to it, Brian.
Folks, that's it. That's the close. We did it again. Another lackluster close. But if you're still listening, you already know. You're a sicko. Send us an email, abnbpod@gmail.com. Good night, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Maybe. Or not. Bye.